appreciate you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. All right. Well, hello, everyone. I am joined here with Jane, Miss Dr. Jane Hansen. And if any of you guys are here on live with us, please do comment here. Let me know that you can hear us, that you can see us, and that all the communication systems are working as they should, so that you guys can hear all the juicy bits of Jane's experience with overcoming her chronic digestive condition. So let me just check here real quick, make sure everything's working on my end. And it looks like it. All right, so Jane, I'm so excited you're here.
I am thrilled to be here.
Oh,
You're
good.
the best.
Oh, you're the best. Thank you.
Really, she's the best, don't you think? You guys know yet?
Can you guys tell that I like to make buddies with people that I work with?
We were also buddies. We knew each other back in the day, but your capacity for being buddies is unparalleled.
So Diana can hear us and see us, so that's good. Okay, good. Diana, thanks for being here. Okay, so today what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about how Jane overcame her diarrhea. She had Candida, she had mold, and she had some other health symptoms, but we're going to really focus on those gut issues. And if we can, we'll dive into some of the others if we have some time. But I really wanted to remind you guys, obviously, the number one thing that I help people with is to overcome their chronic digestive conditions. And I utilize a functional method using functional medicine, which is typically holistic and natural. And when we need other interventions, then we'll use those, but I don't go towards those. That's not usually my lean. So, and the other thing that I'm very excited about is that this week I'm really opening up to you guys here in the Gut Solution group, the Gut Solution program. And so for those of you who are really ready to make a pivotal step in shifting your health issues that you've got going on digestively, those chronic digestive systems, whether it's diarrhea, whether it's constipation, whether it's acid reflux or GERD or SIBO or gas or bloating or whatever it is, and you're ready to make a critical step and make a shift, then please, you can either comment here or you can message me or comment in the thread on the page that I put out today. But let's go ahead and dive in, Miss Jane. So I want you to share with everybody what your biggest frustration was with your health before we started together, other than the obviouses, but you can share those too.
Sure. So my son was born in 2015. I did everything I could to have an orgasmic home birth, ended up with an emergency C-section, and we all got blasted with antibiotics. I don't know if that was why. We had a lot of, gosh, it's been so long now, I forgot. We had both had thrush, my son and I, and my gut was just kind of off. Then I got Giardia when he was 2. And I just had,
I would love for you to tell that story about the Giardia with Theo and Spencer on the one hand and you on the other hand.
Get ready for some injustice, people. So we went up to the mountains. I live in California. We went to the Sierras. It was beautiful. And my husband and son went in this lake, this beautiful mountain lake. And for some reason, I just did not feel called to go in the lake. I don't go in water unless I feel like a yes. I don't know. I felt some sort of no about the water and I just didn't want to go in. I felt cold, whatever. So we get back and I had just like instant diarrhea and I had it for days and I felt really, really sick and it wouldn't go away and it wouldn't go away. And I just was getting clobbered and I would just look at food and I would just think, I can't digest that. I was eating like the plainest, blandest stuff. So lo and behold, I got Giardia from that weekend, and my husband and my son did not get Giardia. Unfair. I didn't even go in the water, but they went in this water, this mountain water in this county that's notorious for Giardia. It has just a ton of Giardia there. So, I was trying to get pregnant to have another baby. It's at this ritual. It was like all these women in this circle were giving me this, feeding me food, and like it's supposed to. And I was just like, well, maybe I'm pregnant now. I was so sick. I lost a lot of weight that I did not need to lose. I was getting these crazy migraines. I was losing my vision at times. And, I took antibiotics for that, but my health just sort of cascaded downward from that point. If I think about where the real breaking point was really that Giardia. And I just couldn't get grounded in my health after that. I would get dizzy. I would become totally exhausted. I was really sensitive to smells and sounds. And the whole while, my stomach was just like loud and puffy. And it was just every time I had a bowel movement, it was just sad and wrong. It was undigested food. It was water. It was just not good. That emoji was not seen for years.
Yeah.
Is this what you want me to say? I mean, I could talk about this stuff for so long.
I want you to share with people that story because it's kind of, sometimes for some of us, and Diana, I don't know if you can relate with this because you're on here with us live. And for those of you watching on the replay, you can comment. But if there was like a pivotal moment that you can remember. So for Jane, she can remember like, oh, there was Giardia in this area, et cetera. But, she's setting up with the fact that before this, she had had a C-section, it was traumatic. And then, imagine being a new mother, not sleeping, et cetera, et cetera. So the body's like stressed. And, that setup and kind of knowing those pivotal stressors can be pretty insightful. So she, Jane, you obviously knew that you had run into literal Giardia. Like people don't always know that they run into a direct pathogen, but you did, which was really handy. So comment, and let us know for those of you watching now or in the replay, like, did you have a moment that you remember? And if you want to share it, that would be lovely too. Okay, so you had that. So then your frustrations were lying with, you started having this cascade effect of symptoms.
Yeah. And the doctors just did not really believe me. That was really awful. I was really treated like I was some sort of hypochondriac, or I was met with really insane interventions like a bone marrow biopsy. That doctor was later fired, I learned, for sort of doing things wrong. But it was just, I was so adrift in kind of the Western medical world of, oh yeah, okay, well, maybe you're getting MS. I had all of these, because I had this constellation of bizarro symptoms. And so by the time that I got to Marl, it was like, I was just down on my knees after having been very, very sick with who knew what, and having no caring reflection in the Western medical world of anybody who was holding and tracking my symptoms. And I was having to fight for myself when I was so weary. And that was just emotionally so draining. And I don't think I realized kind of like how interrelated, like the despair of being sick and uncared for, how much that was compounding my symptoms, and how much what you offer I'm going to cry, in the depth and breadth of your care is this impeccable capacity to really be with and see me as a human, and to teach me how to see myself as a healing person, and how to embody an energy of being my own healer in relationship with you. And how do I speak? How do I talk to myself? How do I deal with my symptoms? How do I deal with my setbacks? Like I had diarrhea this morning for the first time in, I don't know, 6 months. And it was like, I have been having these amazing bowel movements. I was very attached to like my A+ situation. And what I noticed that it was so incredible this morning was like, oh, I was immediately kind with myself. I was immediately like, oh, so disappointing that your stool looks like paint. Oh, it's not the end of the world, you know. You just went through this really intense grief ritual. You're getting back, you know, you ate that weird pizza last night. Oh, it's so disappointing. You're going to go talk with all of Marl's people and you have diarrhea. Like, oh, so it just like that came so alive for me, and like how I treat myself and how I can meet, you know, the inevitable missteps or slips or disappointments even of
Yeah.
the road to recovery, which is not a straight path.
Yes, exactly. It's not always straight and narrow for everyone. And it is for some. And like you said, like there's times where it's like, yeah, I got this, like everything's, you know, picture perfect. And then, you know, we had a pizza or whatever was going on emotionally, and then something shifts, but we're able to climb back on the bandwagon, and we're not like in like some deep pathogenic, huge inflammation state that just takes you down and wrecks your gut. Because at the end of the day, it's not about perfection, it's about resiliency. And so if you can have more resiliency, that's what true health is, because life is full of stress balls, whether it's that you had something, you know, you consumed something you probably shouldn't have, or you had a fight or something with someone important in your life, or there's financial mishaps, or whatever it is, there's stressors, and all these things affect our bodies and the way our bodies function. So resiliency is key. And so I appreciate you sharing that with everybody and being real about it, because it's true. Okay, so before you and I started, what were you trying to do for your health? Was there anything you were trying to do?
I was definitely working with a friend, you know, I'm a psychologist. I work in a holistic wellness center. So I had a friend who's an Ayurvedic specialist and doctor, and I had, you know, some treatments that he had suggested, some acupuncture, and just none of it was working. So I definitely tried a lot of things, and I thought I did. And so I just didn't have much success there. And I didn't feel like, in looking back, he wasn't fully invested and in support with me for the journey. That wasn't our relationship. And so when it was really signing up and in and on with you, it was like, okay, we're in this, and we're in this over time. And that's what it really needed. That's what I needed. This wasn't a like, try this, I'll see you later. It's like, what blew me away about working with you was, let's try this and keep me posted. Try this and let me know how this goes. And I've never in my life experienced the kind of interest and support and engagement that you offered me. That was my healing journey, you know, like the depth and breadth of your care and your attunement and your just unrelenting presence is what is also so healing. And then you get all of your brilliant knowledge. It's just, it's like, I think it saved my life. I really do. I really do. I could not bear that alone, and nobody was coming. You know, I have a wonderful husband. My family was really concerned, but nobody came in like you did. And even taught me how to be here for me. Like I told you, I had this diarrhea this morning. I'm enjoying my bone broth. I'm hydrating. You know, it's like, I have tools now, and they're not just a checklist of stuff. It's also an attitude that you've taught me. It's an approach. So
Yes, that's what we want. And yeah, this is, you know, this is a program in the sense that I want to get to know you. Obviously, I've gotten to know you, and we continue to have a really strong relationship and bond. And I think that's important, because the only way that I can help each person is if you communicate with me and if I get to know you. and kind of get to see your tendencies and how you behave, because really in the end, yes, you're having a chronic digestive condition, but what kind of led you towards that? Was it some situation? It was like, were you sticking up for yourself? Did you really want to be in that place? There's always some interesting underlying factors, which sometimes you got to dig into like really, really deep. And for others, they can do it more surfacey. But I think more importantly, what it just shows me, the kind of person you are, how you operate with yourself. And then that allows me to then talk to you and basically support you, coach you, and help you. Because if we don't have a back and a forth, you could be trying something and it's not working, and you're just the kind of person that doesn't say anything and acts like everything's fine and okay when it's not. And that does happen. Or, if I, chat with you and I bond with you and we have a relationship, then you're more willing to share with me what's going on, and then I can actually help you. And so that's huge.
Can I just say too, what a gift it is to be known in these most vulnerable places, to have someone care and be curious and kind around our bowel movements or our menstrual cycles, our bad habits, the crutches that we lean on, to be able to have someone embody a curious, caring warmth around those scary, dark places that are not working is so healing. It's such a gift, your presence.
Yeah, thank you. And I feel the same way for people who have been in that space for me too. We don't get enough of it. And I think, we have our different things with the different people in our lives, and we need to be able to share all these really raw pieces and feel heard and understood, and not gaslit.
And some people just get tired, even the support that we have, like my husband, he was so tired of hearing about my symptoms. He loves me, but he just, to move on, he hears about it every day for years. It's like, he does not have a fresh take on this, no matter how caring he is. So,
Exactly. So, okay. So all these things were happening, and what was the moment that you knew that you wanted to start the gut solution, or that you wanted to start the program with me? What was that deciding factor?
Oh, I think it was really immediately upon feeling the weight of this struggle and having I could feel you see it and say, yes, that's so hard. And I am here with you in the mystery. And I just felt your capacity, your willingness, your kindness, your curiosity, your care, and your confidence. That you have this really humble confidence that's like, let's try this and be attuned to if and when we need to change course. And I just felt like whatever obstacle came, you were just like, oh yeah, I saw that obstacle too. Now let's keep going. And I just felt that from you from the very beginning, was just your willingness, your determination, and also your gentleness.
Yeah, we need to.
What's better than that?
Yeah, because like you said, healing is not always a linear path. And we have to have some motivation to keep going, but sometimes we need to take little breaks in what we're doing physically to the body, but we have to keep ourselves kind of in the game and moving. And then I always say that gut health is not a destination, it's a way of life. And so if we can really embody that, and if I can help teach people this, I guess, philosophy or principle, then, like you say, how to take care of yourself and feel that energy even when you're complete. So Diana, if you're still here with us, let me know, have you felt unheard by your doctors, or feel like they just don't know. Can you relate with anything that Jane's sharing? Let us know in the comments. And for those of you on the replay, same there. Please comment if you felt like that from any of your doctors or from anyone else you've worked with, conventional or not. Okay, so other than obviously overcoming the diarrhea and the Candida and, getting out of the mold situation, even knowing that mold was a piece of the puzzle, what other benefits did you receive? Obviously, you shared with us what you were getting out of how to take care of yourself, but were there any other physical benefits that you started to notice that were spilling over by improving your gut health?
Definitely. I've had rosacea my whole life, and that, when I look back at pictures of this time before I started working with you, I had just outrageous rosacea. And I went to a dermatologist as well, and she said that I was the worst case she had ever seen. And I had been told by my parents, both of whom have rosacea, and a doctor when I was a teenager, that this would never go away. I would be wearing green makeup for the rest of my life. And, this was hereditary and you could never get rid of it. But excuse me, I'm not wearing any makeup.
It looks gorgeous.
I remember being a teenager and being like, I will never wear green makeup. And look at me today. And, that's been a huge piece of clearing up my skin. And there's just so many things.
I think, if I can reflect, and you can tell me, but one of the things that I think I noticed the most of is how hard you were on yourself when we started working together, and all of the heaviness and weight that you were taking on yourself about trying to take care of yourself, and then the family, and then the life, and the everything, and how that was creating a lot of anxiety
and depression.
And
it was terrible.
Yes.
You really helped me see that, and the role I was playing, and how unhelpful I was to my own healing by being so hard on myself. I couldn't see that. I'm a psychologist, and I couldn't see what I was doing to make my journey more difficult. And I didn't know what else to do, how to do it differently. And you gave me an experience, like an embodied experience of how that feels. Because I think we all know, oh, you should be gentle with yourself. You should love yourself. But like, what does that feel like? What does that sound like? How does that actually come to life? And you really gave that to me and showed me how to do that, which was really humbling as somebody who thinks they know what they're doing.
Totally. I know we always have room to grow. It's just crazy how much we can learn in this lifetime, and it's never ending. It seems like we still can't learn it all and feel it all, and even though sometimes we don't want to. Diana was saying here, she's like, I have decades of doctor horror stories I could share. I know, I bet. And I'm so sorry for that. It really shouldn't be that way. And it really doesn't have to be that way. It's just, we have to change our education and, be willing to evolve our knowledge and be constantly on a learning curve, even as we're doing. And I think that's kind of where the big nugget is when it comes to doctors. Let's see. I wanted to really briefly talk about the surprise of Candida and the surprise of mold. So you guys, you've heard Jane talking about, they had this trip and, she had the young one. She was, a new mother. How old was Theo? Was he 2?
He was 2. Mm-hmm.
He was 2.
And I had to let go of nursing him because I just didn't, didn't have that energy at all. But yeah, maybe the piece I didn't say was that I'm really allergic to mold, and we lived in a beautiful little canyon in a creek bed that was a seasonal creek, and our house was right next to it. we had a ton of mold in the house. And I was in such a fog at this time that I didn't put together at all my symptoms and the fact that there was mold in the house until our downstairs neighbor said he had to move out because the mold was so irritating to him. And then I realized, oh yeah, there has been mold in the wall and covering all of our books. And we just threw them out and kind of kept going. And what the hell? It was just, I was in such a fog.
Yes, it was a big deal finding the mold piece, because when Jane and I started working together, you know, I was wondering if we were going to see any more Giardia. And there could have been some there, because remember, I always say this, no lab test is perfect. It won't always unveil for us everything we would love to see, you know, for sure. So when we got her GI map back and I got her stool sample back, there was no Giardia flagged on there, but to see Candida on a stool test is a big deal, because typically we don't see Candida show up on a stool test. I'll see it on a urine test, on an organic acids test. And so I was surprised. And so when it shows up on a Candida test means that there's a lot of it, that I'm able to actually see it. It was, you know, they were able to identify it, because Candida is super sneaky. And it's typically a secondary pathogen. So Giardia is like literally bigger in size, and Candida is a little bit smaller. And Candida survives based on the Giardia. And even when the Giardia, let's say, dies, it can still kind of hang out and cause havoc. And Candida causes a whole slew of symptoms in the body, from hormonal to mental to emotional, and obviously the gut symptoms and blood sugar issues, sleep issues, etc. So these were a lot of the symptoms that Jane was having. And that was, you know, pretty like, wow. And I think one of the things Jane always loves to talk to me about is she's like, you know, kombucha, like, you know,
I made my own
every day, you know, of course, you know, like it's so good for you. She was eating organic food, by the way, you guys, before she met me. Like, she cooks all of her own meals, like, you know, beautiful meals, clean food. But like kombucha is, everyone's like, oh yeah, it's so great, and you know, so good for your gut. It's a fermented food. Well, it still has sugars, and the way that it moves in the body, it really promotes fungal overgrowth. And so it's not the only piece of her puzzle, but it just gives you a little insight into kind of how I work and how I worked with Jane, and kind of little things that like sometimes people don't realize are contributing to the big disaster that's going on inside of the body. So
and the Candida,
yeah,
it was. And, you know, I was really addicted to kombucha. I was having like a big GT's bottle every day, and then making my own and just drinking it like water. It was nuts. And my sister has a lot of Candida, but she gets a lot of yeast infections. And if she has too much sugar, if she drinks a kombucha, she gets a yeast infection. I never get yeast infections, so I didn't think I had any Candida. But I had, like, off the charts, like hundreds of times. I don't remember exactly, but it was crazy, and it was manifesting all in my GI tract, and not in this sort of classic places where I think people often meet Candida.
Yeah, and so when Jane and I started working on her eradicating the Candida, she started having some serious responses. So, you know, she started having Herx reactions, which is die-off reactions. And so, you know, certain things that we were working on, we had to stop because it was too much. So this is where the relationship between us really is so important, because you know, I won't know unless you tell me. So when she's telling, I'm checking in with her, she's telling me, Maral, gosh, I'm really not feeling good. I'm feeling like this, I'm feeling like that. So we had some hiccups. And so we just kept working on those hiccups. We slowed down a lot of other things so we could focus on this piece and let her have some time to work through it. And she had to do a few layers of pathogen eradication to get rid of the Candida. It took some time because her body was so overstimulated. And when you go through any kind of pathogen eradication, your body kind of goes through undulations, you know, like it gets stressed out. And so making sure that she had some calm in there best we could was really, really important. And then the mold piece, finding the mold. I mean, Jane, not everybody has to do this, but for Jane, it was really important to move out of her home that she was living in because it was so toxic to her. And that was a big deal.
That was really tragic. We had to move away from our whole community. I mean, but it was so clear once I realized, and there were other reasons, you know, we were renting and it was COVID and blah, 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 but it was really painful. It was really hard.
I mean, the
And
mold in
I
that
felt
home
so
was
much better.
crazy. Yeah, the mold in that home was insane.
It
we
was
did a
very
test.
extreme. Yeah, it was.
We did a test and her landlord was like, oh, I did a test, you know, probably some like Home Depot thing or whatever. And we did a ERMI test instead, and it was just insane, off the charts. And then when she describes for you, I mean, it was growing on books, it was growing on so many things, it was everywhere. And so she was just being toxified by the mold.
I mean, I didn't see it. We did have a window leak, so it wasn't like I live in some hovel, but it was like a window had leaked, water had come in.
Yeah.
There, it had gotten all over these books, and they repaired the window, and you know, we threw out the books. But just imagine like what we didn't see inside the walls and all of that.
Exactly.
So that was really big. But I loved those cleanses. Like I remember doing the pear cleanse and these cleanses on the moon, and I could just feel and see and experience like these creatures that had been gnawing at me and keeping me awake at night. I mean, I had terrible insomnia because all of that stuff would wake me up at night, and then I wouldn't rest, and then I would be exhausted, and then it was worse. And just all of the tools and the time. And coffee enemas were really helpful to me. I loved those things as energizers and cleansers. And I had never done that before. And it was incredibly, incredibly useful. It came to be a thing I loved and looked forward to.
Yes. And, you know, Jane loves them. Not everybody loves them.
I didn't think I would love them. They just worked.
Yeah, they totally work. And you know what she's talking about,
For me,
she's talking about pathogen eradication too, is getting rid of these bad bugs that are hanging out in the body and causing havoc. So what would you say to people that are on the fence about starting the program or are curious about the program but don't really know if they should? Like, what would you say?
I would say do it. I would say ask me. I'll talk to anybody who isn't already convinced. I mean, do you want to feel better? Do you want to have somebody really care about you while you get better and be there with you, holding your hand through the hell realms of getting back the energy and life that you want? I mean, that's what I would say. And I'm very open to share anything more about my journey or answer anybody's questions. And I would imagine you are too. So help is here. You have arrived. You're in the right place. This is it. That's what I think.
Thank you.
I mean, you can't really get luckier. I mean, I feel so lucky. You're in such good hands. And I am really picky. So.
Well, I am so grateful to you for joining us today and sharing your story with everybody because everyone needs to hear it. And regardless of what chronic digestive condition you have going on, there are answers. And it's just about having the right approach, having the right kind of support, and having the love and the patience and the time to really put into it and have someone, you know, hold your hand. I mean, Jane is a doctor of psychology. She's an active psychologist. She works. She's a mommy. You know, she takes care of her family. She cooks. She cleans. So it's not like this woman has bounds of time or anything, and she's able to do it. So if she can do it, I know all of you guys can. It's just a matter of making the big decision. So is there anything else that you want to add or share, or do you feel complete?
Yeah, that touches me so much to think. I was just in this women's grief ritual over the weekend and just noticing like how many of us carry the burden of not enough time, not enough space, and we put ourselves last. how we just wear ourselves out to the bone trying to do all the things, and to make time to care for yourself and your inner core of your being, your bowels, your digestion. It's like, that matters. You matter. And what can you elbow out of the way that's taking up space for you to heal? Because that is just essential and you deserve it. And I just wish that for everyone, that they can prioritize their well-being, the receiving support. I know it's, for a lot of us, it's hard to receive, and we have to if we want to keep living. It's natural and it's important. And
Exactly. So thank you for that. And again, to all of you this week, it's, a big week for the Gut Solution community. So if you're ready and you want to pop on a call with me, you guys can all just comment either in this video or on the other post, and I'll send you a DM. You can comment Gut Solution and I'll get back to you guys. And if you have any questions for Jane, or you have any questions for me, just drop them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer any of them, or Jane can get back to you if you have any personal ones for her. So I hope you guys have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys again next week at 11 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday. Thank you, dear.
My pleasure. Wishing you all the best, and I'm here.
Thank you. Bye.